Hey everybody, testing 1, 2, 3. I think I am live. So it was a super busy day today, but there's so much news. Despite people think it's a quiet news day, in fact, I don't think it was a quiet news day at all. So a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to just freewheel here and go through a lot of stuff. I'll try to cover 20 topics in about 10 minutes. So first of all, let me talk about the Fed and what's going on with the Fed. As you guys know, there was a lot of talk, a lot of concern, a lot of consternation around where we are going. So I discussed this on Discord this morning, but 6 months ago, there was no inflation, and we're not going to change rates till 2024. Now, this is all for those of you outside the US. This is the Fed. They control the money, they control the interest rates, etc. But they're a little bit confused. 4 months ago, zero inflation. 3 months ago, we have transitory inflation. It's just temporary. It's just going to last a couple of weeks and it'll go away. Yesterday, whoops, there is serious inflation and we don't know what to do. So they have this concept called tapering, which is where they cut back the bond buying, which floods the market with money. And they're thinking about tapering a little bit to try and slow the economy down just a touch. Now, the US economy is not built for high inflation, and the government can't afford to slam on the brakes. We are still in this kind of pandemic recovery situation. So net, I think optimism is gone from the Fed. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. If they jack rates, they'll kill job growth and the economy. If they don't, inflation will happen. So either way, it's good news for Bitcoin. As I always say, all roads lead to Bitcoin. Now, so many believe that the Fed is really making the case for Bitcoin being stronger because they haven't implemented any systems, nor do they have any systems to potentially curb inflation. Now, it was also very interesting in gold news. I know there's a few gold bugs out there. Gold dropped 8%. It went from $1,920 to about 1770. I can check what it's at now, but that was just off a cliff. And even I think it was 2 days ago or yesterday, Michael Saylor said Bitcoin had outperformed gold by 50x, and that was before the gold crash. So again, that 8%, it's probably more like 100x now in terms of Bitcoin outperforming gold. So there was a time over the last month, 6 weeks, where money stopped flowing out of gold funds into Bitcoin. I expect that to pick up again, especially with some of the other news that I'll cover as well. So speaking of gold, I think it was UBS Group, Union Bank of Switzerland, their analyst Giovanni Stalnovo, it sounds Eastern European, he was interviewed by Bloomberg, and he said he has a very negative outlook on gold and he expects it to fall to $1,600 an ounce over the next 6 to 12 months. Again, we're at 1770 now, so to go to 1,600 isn't that far off. But considering it's a crazy inflationary environment, to have such a pessimism around gold is shocking. So it's not what you'd think. Crazy inflation, super weak gold prices makes no sense. Now, another bad news in the US, again, talking about a lot of US macro stats because I don't have them from other parts of the world just now, but the initial jobs claim was much higher than expected. And it increased the jobless numbers, unemployment numbers increased 37,000 to 412,000, which also is not good. Again, the Fed is between a rock and a hard place. The job creation isn't happening. People aren't coming back to work. They're enjoying staying at home, maybe trading crypto. I don't know what they're doing, but we'll see. So despite all this, we've got gold crashing, we have the Dixie making some moves, etc. But Bitcoin has been relatively tame, relatively flat. It's really tied in that 2% range, not going up or down, but you kind of like the $38,000 to $40,000 mark. And it's only a matter of time, I think, before it really steps up. And I've been watching the charts very carefully and trying to identify exactly when Saylor and others are actually buying. Now, I'm not a political guy. I don't care what politicians do, but I like to watch it from the outside to see kind of certain trends. And what I have learned about politicians, if one side, say the Democrats take one side, the other side will take the other side. So Elizabeth Warren, I think a week ago, was on the rampage against crypto. And the Dems kind of fall behind her, say crypto is evil, it's used for crime and all that type of stuff. I can't remember the numbers. She gave some crazy number like $42 million was involved in criminal activities in 2020. 42 million. Do you know how many tens of billions or hundreds of billions are used for criminal activities in the US dollar? So it's just a stupid argument. Anyway, what's interesting is last year as well, President Donald Trump said get after Bitcoin. He didn't like Bitcoin, and he tried to convince people within his cabinet to kind of close it down. Anyway, that didn't happen. But now the Republican Party is taking donations in crypto through BitPay. So it's a complete about face. Warren goes after crypto, so the Republicans kind of follow it. So I don't know what's happening in other areas of the world, but it's super interesting. And you got people like Ted Cruz as well in Texas, very pro crypto. So I just wanted to point that out. And again, I think it's always good to have a balance of yin and yang in the world, and just to make sure everything is balanced out in a fair way between both. So it's just nice to see. Now, you all heard about the Paul Tudor Jones news. It's old, that 5% allocation, but it is huge, and it's a wake-up call. And now all the hedge funds and all the pension funds, everybody's thinking, oh, what do we do? Gold is cheap. It did drop 8%, but will people start pumping 5% into their money? We'll see. Now, speaking of 5%, those with less than one Bitcoin, okay, these are the people that could have, anywhere from $20 worth of Bitcoin up to $38,000 worth, or should I say 37,000. Let's get the exact quote right now. Bitcoin is at 38,081. So those with less than $38,000 now hold 5% of all Bitcoin, which is great. And this ownership amount has actually spiked. And I know within our Patreon community, we have over 500 new whole coiners. So retail is not selling as bad as we thought, and people are hodling and on the rise. And it's great to see that it's not all the big money center banks grabbing all the Bitcoin. So that's cool. Now, in environmental news, there was another interesting stat that was published. Everybody throws the environmental carbon footprint of Bitcoin mining at it, as with everything else. But just for comparison, gold mining has 3 times the carbon footprint of Bitcoin mining. 3x, okay? And that doesn't include all the pollution, all the terrible things that happen from gold mining. And not to mention the people that die mining gold. Nobody has ever died mining Bitcoin, unless a whole bunch of rigs fell on them or something, but I've never heard of that. Now, the military complex, which is even more important, has more than 20 times, about 21 point something times the carbon footprint of Bitcoin mining. So, when governments say, oh, Bitcoin is dirty, well, stop running those tanks and airplanes and ships. That'll solve all the environmental problem. Again, just more fun. I thought it was an interesting stat to share. Now, the Security and Exchange Commission, there's more regulatory news which is important for us. They said they're going to leave Bitcoin and cryptocurrency off the agenda for 2021, which is, again, great news for Bitcoin. But again, I believe a little bit of regulation is important, especially when you see what's just happened. So in other regulatory related news, you still have crypto being the Wild West. And when celebrities like Mark Cuban get hit and rug pulled, losing everything, it's, again, a wake up call for everybody. Be very, very, very careful in how you invest. And I've been saying this since the beginning of time. If you're getting paid 40% in your crypto, ask the question why. It's just not sustainable. 10%, 12%, yeah. When you start getting 40%, 60%, 100%, like people like Mark Cuban should have woken up to realize the fact that this is just too good to be true. Now, in other kind of regulatory news, a guy called Jeremy Hogan, he gave his legal assessment of the top 5 cryptocurrencies and naming the SEC danger rating for some of these. And the 2 that came out on top was, first of all, Tether. Tether has very questionable audit practices, and nobody is sure if they have the dollars to back up the collateral right now, which stands at about $62 billion. And that $62 billion of Tether makes up about 9% of Bitcoin market cap. So I've had a lot of requests. There's been Tether FUD going around for a long time, but I'm a believer where there's smoke, there's fire. You've heard this cliche many times from me as well. So maybe there is something to the fact that this whole Tether group is bad and not fully backed up. But the SEC are beginning to focus again. And they were sued before by the New York Attorney General. And we'll see what happens. So hopefully they have their ducks in a row. But if Tether does come crashing down like a house of cards, remember, it's 9% of the market cap of Bitcoin, and not all Tether is used for Bitcoin. So in terms of the impact on Bitcoin, yes, it'll be bad, but it will not wipe it out. It'll be like kind of like a gray swan event. So worst case scenario, it's still worth being in the trade. And like Jeff Boss said, even if there was, I think it was, he said, there's 85% chance that Bitcoin was going to go to zero, he'd still be an investor. So think about that. Now, I also made a video because I was on the receiving end of a lot of grumblings regarding Binance, and they scored a danger factor of 8.5 out of 10 from the SEC. So number one is Tether, number two is Binance US. So just making you guys alert that the regulators are on to this type of stuff. Now, in terms of, I don't want this to be too negative a video, but it's important to be very realistic and be aware of some of the dangers that Barry Siebert, the CEO of Digital Currency Group, DCG, has revealed on social media that he believes that 99% of cryptocurrencies are overpriced. And he's basically made a bet with the VIX, the volatility index, and the CBOE to protect himself against this. Now, when he was asked which cryptocurrencies are overpriced, he didn't say specifically what, but he did say 99% of them are desperately overpriced. So again, Wild West, be very careful out there. You know, when I do my price estimations on certain cryptos, some people think I'm way too conservative, but I'd rather be conservative and have that bonus. You know, if I say something is going to go up 3x over the next 3 years, that's good. If it goes to 5x, put that money towards your Lamborghini or whatever. Okay, in fun news, I like to monitor the adoption rates of Bitcoin and crypto all over the world. And New Zealand, it is claimed that definitely more than 1 in 5 people in New Zealand have cryptocurrency. In one survey from the Financial Services Council, 40% of Kiwis are currently using or intend to use crypto investing platforms. That's from the New Zealand Herald, which is really cool. So a big thumbs up to all the Kiwis out there. And what's really bizarre is my YouTube channel, even though New Zealand, I think, has 0.06% of the world's population, I think it's 5 million people, they make up 1% of my YouTube audience. So Kiwis love crypto, that's for sure, and I've proven that. So, and I know a lot of the people are cool in the community. Now, comparing that to the US, around 6% of the US population now use their own crypto. The trend is growing. So the Kiwis do more than 3x what the Americans do. So big thumbs up there. And in relation to the US, the fastest growing state in the US for adopting crypto is Hawaii. They're up 600% year over year. And I hope that's nothing to do with the fact that I was there last week. You know, telling everybody to fill their bags. No, only kidding. But that was it. Now, talking about the UK in disturbing news, and I don't know what it is about England, Britain, Great Britain, United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it, but the vast majority, nearly 70% of UK financial advisors warn people to be wary of crypto. So I don't know where all that negativity comes from. Maybe it's stemming down from the central bank, etc. But I know we have a lot of people from the UK. I think nearly 10% of the audience is from the UK, but it's a lot bigger than New Zealand. And that being said, you guys love your crypto. Don't listen to your financial advisors, which is kind of weird because I say always talk to your financial advisor first. But in the UK, be careful. And maybe the British financial advisors are onto something because there is inherent risk with some cryptos, like the Doge coins and the Shibus and that type of stuff. But for the core safe ones, there's a tremendous upside. Now, in other kind of DeFi news, and I've been talking about DeFi, but this guy kind of summed it up in a very interesting way. His name is Brandon Hampton, and he said decentralized finance will help change kind of the world in a big way, but it's going to impact banks in a big way too. He doesn't see many of them surviving the next 10 years if the adoption continues. Now, why go to earn 0% on your money in a bank when you can earn 10 or 15% yield farming? And that is just the beginning. Then there's no reason to place money at a bank where they make 6% on your mortgages and 8% on car loans when you can actually find ways to create that whole peer-to-peer network. So I thought it was a very nice summary from this guy, Brandon Hampton, about how he believes a rude awakening is coming for the banking industry. Now, in some Cardano and Polkadot news, Charles Hoskinson, again, people either love him or hate him, but he has admitted to spying on Polkadot's technology. And it's funny because I made a video a few days ago about how he loves open source, and I think it was against HBAR. He made some very aggressive comments, but basically he says spying on the competition isn't bad at all. It can reveal insights that he wouldn't have previously noticed. And no wonder why he likes open source technology. And Vitalik Buterin from Ethereum is doing something similar, because he has copied the Zilliqa kind of sharding process as well for scalability. So, it all goes to building a better set of technologies. So in terms of Ethereum, again, I try to build a sausage and tie everything together. Some new Ethereum price predictions by the Finders panelists, and these are a bunch of very prominent people in the space. So we have Dr. Iwa Salami from the University of East London, the CEO of Bitbull Capital. We've got Sarah Bergstrand, we've got Vishal Shah, CEO of Alpha 5, chief economist at Consensus. We've got Lex Sokolin and all these guys. But they all came together and put together their forecast. What would Ethereum be worth by 2025? Some of the numbers are up at the 40,000 level, some were like at 10,000, but the average of them all was $19,842 per ETH in the year 2025. One of the analysts did say, though, that he thinks the weakness of Ethereum is the fact that the supply will become more limited after EIP 1559. I don't think so, but that was their thought. So that's not bad, a $20,000 price target in just a few years, considering where we are now at about, let me check the real-time price, $23.70. That's a nice return. Okay, final news, and this kind of is more of a very much a risk management. Be aware, everybody, and I like to make people aware of stuff if you haven't heard about it. And when I did my video, How to Store Your Crypto, I spoke about the ledger hack. People misunderstood that for thinking, the ledgers themselves were hacked. No, the company was hacked, and on the dark web, there exists people's name, phone numbers, addresses, etc. And they are now being attacked by scammers in a very special way. So the scammers are upping their game every single day because they know the value of crypto. So what they are doing with these people is they are mailing them new ledgers, hardware ledgers, to their homes, saying, here's a new ledger. It's an upgrade for free. And the question is, I think this audience knows, question everything. Do not accept anything. But people, there are maybe 1% of users will take this and store their crypto on it, and of course it's going to disappear. So be careful of fake Ledger Nano X's. One Reddit user saw it, and the scammers are posing as the CEO Pascal Gauthier from Ledger in France. So just be very, very careful. And with that, that's a wrap. I'm going to open this up to Q&A and see what's going on with you all. This takes me a second to pop up the chat, so bear with me as I do that. Let me see. I think I hit this button. Yeah, and I'll turn off the volume. And then I got the chat. I did it faster this time. Pop it out. So we got Justin Powell. Thanks for the great content. Take a look at Terra Luna ecosystem. That's actually on our list. It is one of the few real-world use for savings and payments. Awesome. Thank you for that tip. I'll be on the list. In fact, we have a growing team that's going to be looking at a lot more token analysis, and we're going to do a new heat map of which tokens are the best based on all our different parameters that we analyze. So we'll see. Let me check what else. There's a new little trick I can do here too. But what else do we have going on? Good day from Perth, Australia. There you go. Pull forward between Australians and Kiwis. We have thoughts. Rishav Saran, thoughts on Polygon. I am bullish on Polygon, and I created a video on that with a 10-year price prediction model as well. So check it out. I have a new playlist as well. It's called Should I Buy? And it's basically an analysis of the top 10 altcoins, including all my favorite names, Uniswap, Polkadot, Solana, etc., etc. So check that out. Neon Visual got me a few million Shiba Inu today. Yeah, I mean, I can't give investment advice, but I was just looking at the 31% gain on Coinbase today for that, and it's just... So, Joshua, your wife still doesn't believe in you. She will. She will in time. Don't worry. Jose Ramos, thoughts on AVAX. That is not one that is kind of on our top 10 list that we're going to do next. But one of the challenges we have is we get literally 20 to 30 to 40 token analysis requests a day, and there's just so many out there. And again, just to reiterate, we tend to focus on the big ones that have a unique use case and value proposition. Let me see. From Flying Inferno, why is MicroStrategy putting their Bitcoin into MicroStrategy? Oh, that's just a separate legal entity for the high-risk junk bond in case it does get wiped out. It means MicroStrategy is safe. So it's all part of a holding company, but it gives them legal protection. So that's the reason behind that structure. And again, as I say, this guy, Michael Saylor, has a black belt in financial jiu-jitsu. So JR, thank you so much. I was reading the Taproot upgrade of Bitcoin will allow smart contracts. What are your thoughts? Even more bullish? Yes, I'm very interested in all of the layer 2 development that'll happen on that, not only from a scalability perspective, also privacy perspective, but also to build out a lot more capability. I think that'll be very, very powerful. And, you know, Bitcoin isn't a perfect mechanism for spending today. Like if you're buying coffee and small items like that, it doesn't work well. But if you're moving big transactions around, it works very well. So yeah, extremely bullish. And also they have enhanced some scalability. It won't be too groundbreaking, but it'll be something at least. Nevart, there we are. Hello from New Zealand. Love it because so many Kiwis. It's incredible. I would love to hear your thoughts about Nano, and if possible, do a video at some point in the near future. Yes, we are. So Navar, thank you for that, and that one is definitely on the list. We have a couple of nice ones coming up next, so you'll be impressed. But remember as well, I put skin in the game. Anything that I analyze, I will also buy. If I don't buy it, I'm not going to analyze it because I don't want to make a video about something and not be part of it. Because that wouldn't be cool. So exciting world of content from Canada. If one were to simplify trading just using one specific coin, what coin would you recommend and why? And can you do good progress? Make sure I can interpret that. If you're just trading on one coin, I'd pick something that has a very good future, but a lot of volatility so you can trade it. If you're talking about trading in the kind of day trading sense of the word. So, there's some great names that are kind of move like clockwork every 5 to 10 days. Chainlink, Solana moves from 36 to 42, 36 to 40. Like you could just get in and out of those things all day long. Just look at your charts. It's very, very predictable. It's also interesting. What I like to look at is the correlation between other things that they are somewhat correlated with and identify if they're out of whack. So you can create a de facto arbitrage opportunity. Like today I was looking at the correlation between MicroStrategy and Bitcoin and how it's completely out of whack. Now there's actually a huge premium for MicroStrategy. And I believe that's because a lot of the hedge funds are using that as a proxy for Bitcoin. So great question. Thank you for that. Beanie Violi, we have solar. Is it worth trying to mine crypto or better just to buy? It depends. I heard mining things like helium is definitely worthwhile. That depends how much energy you create. We'll see. I have somebody here in my house actually who has their own Bitcoin node, so it'll hopefully be hooked up later. But I am not a miner per se. But if you were on Discord within Patreon, we have a whole dedicated mining channel and a staking channel as well. So you could chat in there with the people. So ship it one time, please. What do you think about having a percentage of commodities index funds in 401ks right now? Yeah, I'm getting a little bit nervous about the stock market for two reasons. One, it's getting close to that $4,500 S&P 500 level, which I think is the top. And also because, July and August are very slow months for the stock market because volume is down. When volume is down, prices fall. That being said, I was thinking about two commodities. Obviously, oil has already bounced. Things like copper and silver. Copper already shot up, so it's too late to grab that. In fact, some people say it's going to fall down. But silver could be an opportunity. And a lot of people are talking about uranium, but I don't know anything about uranium. But I do like silver long term because of the green revolution that we are in over the next 10 years. And silver is required in all the electric vehicles and components, etc. So Fabiola Biggio, what do you think about Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, talking about the green BTC being more valuable than millions already circling? I think that's just nonsense. You can, like, if you got a perfect diamond and a perfect diamond, how do you tell the difference? It's like, and there's no such thing as a. There's very few virgin Bitcoins, put it that way, compared to the vast majority. Now, there might be some investors that are very big into ESG. And they say, well, we will only put green Bitcoin on our treasury, and we're willing to pay a premium for that, maybe 5 or 10%. And that way we can pretend to our shareholders, hey, look at us, we only buy clean Bitcoin. So there will be a market for it, and he's been pushing that narrative for a long time, but I think it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Doesn't matter where it came from. It's not like blood diamonds where people literally die for them. So that would be my thought on that one. Scooter Woodley. James, how will peer-to-peer currencies achieve broad adoption if every purchase results in capital gains event? That's a big question that I actually have. In fact, last year I put a bunch of money into PayPal just to have that available to be able to buy things, because there's 30 million vendors that take PayPal. And I was hoping for the day where you could use your crypto. I have stuff sitting in there. And it's substantial. The very first day that PayPal launched, I had money in there and it worked. But that is a tough one. And I think what's ultimately could happen, two things. First of all, if Bitcoin is considered a currency, it's not taxable from a capital gains perspective. Second of all, there are many jurisdictions around the world that don't tax crypto. Puerto Rico, Germany, Switzerland, El Salvador, tons of other places. So I think it's, as it gets more widely adopted by sovereign countries, I believe it could flip the switch, turn Bitcoin into an actual currency, and then it can't be taxable. But in the meantime, there are services you can buy to actually track that. But I think, at least for most of us here, see what happens, track what you can, but I don't recommend using Bitcoin to buy anything. You can use your Dogecoin for that. Use Dogecoin like fiat currency. So that'll be it. Minaz Ali, what's your views on NFTs and its potential in the future? Should we include NFTs in our portfolios? Yeah, I have a little bit of Engine Coin because that was my NFT play. It's up about 10 or 15% from where I bought it. So it went up like to $2 and then fell all the way down to $1. And we'll see. But I think it's important. But the sales volume for NFTs I read has fallen 95% since the hype heyday. What was that, the apex? So it's really come down an awful lot right now. I think it's worthwhile. There's a lot of companies and groups getting in on the NFT bandwagon. I know Binance is putting something together, and artists and musicians, etc., are doing it. So you got all the sports teams, football teams. I think it's good, but I wouldn't put more than like half of 1% of your portfolio into something like an Engine Coin. So that's it. Rohal Sheikh, thoughts on the Death Cross. So I did a video on that about 3 weeks ago. And the Death Cross is right half of the time. And when it is right, it's very late. So the damage is already done. So if you look at where we are, Death Crosses will always happen because everything happens in cycles. It's only a matter of time before the 200-day and the 50-day cross. It's just it's just the nature of the beast. But I wouldn't worry too much about it at all. I don't think it's a big concern. I like to look at the big macro picture. You've got the top macro investors. You've got the top hedge fund managers. You've got the biggest brains in the business, the top venture capitalists. And they're all saying Bitcoin's going to 150, 250, $288,000. Alex from Celsius was on yesterday, and he said Bitcoin is going to 160 grand, 100 to 160 grand this year. And this guy knows the stuff. His predictions are on point. He actually forecasted the 30K dip. So, yeah, Death Cross. Just look at the money coming in and look at the supply. Look at the amount of coins on exchanges. And what's also very interesting is the retail investors have stopped selling. They've switched back to hodling mode. And there's a lot more of them now before. The adoption is ramping up big time. So let me see. Minnesota, why does HBAR have so much activity in the last 24 hours? I don't know. Maybe a new partnership. Maybe they are going to be the platform for the digital dollar. Not sure. And basic economics. So when it comes to lending crypto, of all the platforms, and I don't shell anything, and I never would, but from what I see and hear, I think Celsius is probably the top, the safest. That guy, Alex, he's made his money. Now he just wants to, as he said, he wants to go after the financial institutions, financial services industry. So Steve and Maggie Bridge, greetings from Columbus, Ohio, 65-year-old, 40-year vegetarian. Good job. Hope to be like you when I grow up. More vegan. Awesome. Good news. Oh, sorry about that. Basic economics. When you touch the desk, the mic picks it up. Whoops. Super sensitive. It's a new mic. I heard some complaints that using the streaming software, the volume is a bit low, so hopefully it's better, and I shouldn't touch the desk. Good. Well, that's a wrap for everybody, unless there's one last question. Let me see. Robert Mullen. Hi, James. If I have a few top 50, 150 ranked coins that I bought before the crash, was trying to swing trade, but now I'm down 50%. Should I hold them or take the loss and sell into my main coins? I think when you're at the 50 to 150 level, there's a couple of names that are ranked like 65 and 80 that are worth hanging on to, but the rest of the stuff is extremely dangerous. I think you're better off in the safer bets. They may not go up 10x, but they will go up 3 to 5x. Like take Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to go from 38K to 100,000. Ethereum from 2,300 up to 8,000. So think about that, and there's high risk, high return. Always think about that. Think of the beta of anything you were in, and if you're down 50%, you need to get back up, which means you need to pick things that are going to more than double to start making profit again. So I would go for the safer places. So Billy Elliott, James, if you had a lot of Polkadot, where would you park it? I don't know, maybe Celsius. And Tiger Shark, thoughts on BlockFi? I had the team at BlockFi tried to push me to promote their service for a long time, and I put it to Patreon. Should I push it, and what people thought about it? And I did some research into it, and I don't know. When something is sold so hard, I get very, very suspicious. I believe the best products sell themselves, and that's just been my experience in life. You don't see Tesla advertising their cars; they sell themselves. So, Antonio Lally, are you playing the AMC short squeeze trade? No, I don't touch that stuff. I think if it did go to a crazy number with a crazy market cap, I would short it using a spread, like a calendar spread of call options or put options. That's what I would do, but I haven't seen it kind of jump up. It'd have to be north of 100 for me to play that game. Ken N, MicroStrategy to add Ethereum to portfolio. Is that a news release that I missed today? Because I always thought Michael Saylor was a big Bitcoin maximalist. He's getting more and more bullish in Ethereum, but he doesn't believe the technology is mature enough for him to invest his corporate treasury in. So that's it. And the Bitcoin Mining Council, yeah, they're doing great work. Again, with decentralized stuff, I don't believe in councils. I think things should just happen themselves, just like things shouldn't be sold. But I think in order to fight the FUD and give the industry a voice, so it's important for that to happen. And even with Elon Musk saying as long as Bitcoin tips over the 50% green, we'll see. Actually, right before I did this, I read an article that China is trying to move towards green mining. So a few days ago, China was shutting down all the miners. Now China is moving towards green mining. JR, thank you so much. Love the 2 cute monkeys and the baby elephant. Yes. And this money goes towards supporting more. So big thank you, everybody. Be safe right now, and talk to you soon. By the way, I'm going to look into Voyager stock too. So is that the Gates head behind you? No, that is Ganesha. This is the Indian god of idea generation. So good night all. Thanks. Be careful.